You just have sex and have fun.
I think more people need to talk about sexual energy and how deep that is. You're taking on your partner's energy
Yes.
and their trauma.
Yes, all of it. I started feeling extremely sick. What I realized I was being shown was all the men that I had had sex with in my life, I had taken in their energy and I had made myself sick. Boy, it was a really tough lesson. Your body is a temple. Treat it like it.
Nicky Clinch is the originator of the body-mind maturation method, a paradigm-shifting process that facilitates human beings in outgrowing their survival-based identity and mature into higher states of consciousness, radical responsibility, and start living aligned with their truest potential. She is an international best-selling Hay House author and founder of the Alchemy of Being, Academy of Maturation Coaching, where practitioners are trained in her method to bring a new education in human development for adults to live in an embodied state of freedom and aliveness. Human suffering persists not because people are broken, but because the structures shaping human perception remain invisible within blind spots. Nicky Clinch.
Yeah, you better. Cause you want this, I want this. Everybody in this world should have it. Stop illusions, it's in your hands. Show yourself, reveal it to them. Yeah, you better. Take the time to recognize it. You won't leave me even if you tried it. You're the artist, I'm the mess, and happily be found the new in your hands.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Unlimited with Elisabeth Carson. Today, I am so greatly honored to be joined by one of the most embodied, amazing women that I have met at this amazing freaking summit in Dubai, the Gladiator Summit. Nikki, I'm just so grateful that you agreed to come here and sit with me. The minute that we started talking at the dinner, I was like, ooh. I have to interview her and get her story and understanding because, you know, I really felt like we connected on a different level. I don't know if you felt it, but I felt it. I like her.
I did. I felt it. And thank you for inviting me. I was really honored to receive your invitation and to sit here and have this conversation with you. And I felt it too. It was kind of instant. So, yeah, I look forward to hearing what comes through.
Yes, absolutely. So Nikki, tell my following just a little bit about yourself for those who don't know.
Okay, so my name is Nicky Clinch. I specialize in body-mind ontology, which most people don't know what ontology is. It's the science and nature of being, and particular kind of being that I study as human beings. So my work is very much looking at what runs us and our patterns and creates the limitations and our behavior and our suffering, not just from an individual level, meaning how do you look at your problems and solve your problems, but looking at it from a species level. What's running us as a species? And then when we look at it from that context, it allows us to see blind spots that are running us that we can't see when we're just looking at it on an individual level. So it allows a much deeper level and a bigger level of freedom than you can do if you're just working on yourself as an individual.
Wow.
So that's my specialty. I have studied and trained in human development, childhood trauma, body, mind, somatics. I'm trained in Chinese medicine as well. So I have created a process called the body, mind maturation method. Yeah. So working with the energetics of trauma and generational stories that we inherit on an experiential level, and then how that shapes and forms in the neural pathways of our mind as identity.
Yes.
So my work is kind of taking people to the root of what runs you experientially and behavioral wise and identity wise that you're carrying from your past, and you may not even know it.
Yes.
So that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Beautiful. Yes, I remember when we were talking at dinner and you were talking about your speech, and then I was thinking like my speech, it was kind of a line on the same thing. I'm like, yes, I love this, how the message comes through different vessels in a different way for the people that vibrate and, you know, match with that frequency can understand.
Yes.
Such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get into this work? Did you have like an awakening, or, I mean, how did this even come about?
Yeah, very much so. I would say I had an awakening. I had a very, very difficult childhood. Yeah. Let's just put it that way. Mm-hmm. So by the time I was 11, I already fell into addiction. So I was an active addict between 11 and 20. And I mean, when I say addict, I mean I was, at the end, I was throwing up 12 to 15 times a day, bulimic. I was doing very extreme Class A drugs and just in a very, very bad way, kind of in thousands and thousands of pounds of debt, stealing from people, getting thrown out of bars. And more importantly, I was on the verge of not being able to make it anymore. Actually, a doctor said to me that if I were to continue the way that I was living, I was not going to make it to the age of 30. So by the time I was 20, I write about it in my book. I wrote a book called Surrender. I remember waking up in the morning, this is my last day of that kind of phase of my life. And you know how when you wake up, you have kind of a few milliseconds when you forget who you are, and it feels kind of peaceful, and then your memory just floods you with everything about who you are and how you're living and all the suffering and the anxiety and the panic and the self-hate. And that just kind of flooded me, and I just broke down, and the thought of living this way for another 40, 50 years, I was only 20, just felt like hell. So I really wanted to take my life. And that was the day when everything just broke. It was like the moment of surrender. And I remember just saying to no one, I don't know how to do this. Help, just help. And somehow I just had this moment of peace where I realized that I could get help and that it didn't have to be this way. Within an hour, I was in a doctor's office. Within a day, I was admitted into treatment. And that was kind of the end of that phase. But that's not the end of the story. What's interesting is then the next 10 years, I then dedicated myself to working on myself. I did therapy and family constellation and psychedelics and somatics. I went into treatment, psychodrama. I mean, I literally did everything I could. And I definitely got better. I looked better. I had a job. I wasn't in addiction anymore. I wasn't bulimic anymore. And so people thought I was better. But what was really interesting is even though I definitely got better, when I was alone behind closed doors, the same suffering, the same worthlessness, the same I'm not safe, the same anxiety that I was suffering from when I was an addict was still running through my system. And I realized I'm better, but I'm not free. And that was the beginning of me starting to really dive in deeper and looking at it. What is it that runs us as human beings that creates this constant looping of suffering? Even when we've done everything that ticked all the boxes and we've done all the strategies and methods and meditation and yoga and green juice and all the different 20 years of therapy, why is it that I am still not free of the looping of my suffering? And that's when I got into the work that I do now.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh, that story, it gave me chills. It's very, very much similar from my story too. I mean, 11 was the age for me.
Wow.
And you have to think about it. So it's not a moral failure that you're addicted. It's literally just an adaptation to pain.
Yes. It's literally the only way. I often say to people, the problems that you think you're trying to solve, that you think are the problems, they're not the problems. That's you trying to solve the problem. So my addiction wasn't the problem. My addiction was me trying to solve the problem. I was trying to use the escaping, the oblivion, the drugs, the alcohol, the bulimia, trying to get the flat stomach, trying to get the love of my life, all the things that I was trying to get was me trying to solve the problem. So who even needs to do all those things? Well, someone who thinks that they are worthless. And so that same someone, even though I got rid of all the things that I was doing, the first phase, and changed it with better things like yoga and meditation and therapy, the same someone was running my life.
Right.
And you cannot solve your problems by the same one that generates and suffers from the problem.
So true. Yes.
And that is where what I mean by getting to the root.
Yeah.
What is the identity that's looking through your eyes and feeling through your body that's even giving you the way that you're being in your life?
Right. Yeah.
And that you can only really, my experience is that you can only really get to that root level when you start looking at what's running us from an ontological level. I said this in my talk, just to give an example. You know when you're in an airplane and you're on the runway and you look out the window and you can see the airport and you can see the country that you're in.
Yeah.
But then you take off and then you rise up to 30,000 feet and you look out the window.
Yeah.
And you start to see patterns in the landscape of the earth that you couldn't see when you were on ground level.
Yes.
That's what I mean by rising up and looking at what's running us as human beings.
Yeah.
You start to see patterns and sequences in the landscape that you cannot see when you're just looking at it from what's Nikki, what am I doing wrong? Why am I like this? When you're looking at it from a me individual level, they are blind spots. You literally can't see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in my work, we have to rise up to 30,000 feet and start looking at what's running us so that we can see the patterns and sequences in the landscape, and then we can break them.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. I'm like, I'm going up to 30,000 feet right now. I'm looking down like, where's my blind spots?
Yeah. And the problem with blind spots is you really cannot, they are blind spots.
Right.
So they don't appear like blind spots. It just seems like normal.
Yes.
So you know when a fish is swimming in the ocean, it doesn't know it's swimming in the ocean. It just thinks that's the world.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Until one day it wakes up and it goes, whoa, hold on, I'm in something and it's wet.
Yeah.
That's like us.
Right.
We're just living in our lives thinking the way that we see reality and the way we experience ourselves in reality is just the world.
Right.
Until we realize that, hold on, I'm in something. And it has a particular suffering to it and a particular experience to it. And it's generated by the body-mind mechanism. But and that's a blind spot. You don't see it until you see it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something cool that happened. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they made me like deeply realize something. And I wonder if this relates to your work in any way. So I was adopted. And I never saw my birth mother. I went through a process and kind of re-experienced that whole thing again. So I felt all the emotion and all the pain of not being held, not being seen, not being, hugged. And, I came out and this person asked me, what was the first thing that you remember? And I was like, okay, well, I re-experienced my birth, so I remember my birth. Like, I remember the first moments. What were you feeling? I was feeling distraught, heartbroken, sad. Like, I couldn't see my mom. I just wanted this person. So you were feeling guilty. Yes, I was feeling guilty for being here. Okay, well, think about it. Why do you think you were feeling guilty? I don't know, because my mom just wanted to give me away. It's just I was by myself. No, think deeper. Okay. The guilt that you felt. What do you think your mom was feeling?
Yes, you
During the
absorbed
birth.
her experience.
I absorbed the guilt from my mom. It was never mine to carry.
Right, and what we don't realize is that by the time we're 3-4 years old, as a species, we're done. It's done.
Yeah.
Everything that we experience in those first 4 years shapes your identity for the rest of your life.
Yes, until you
it's
change it.
done. It's set. And it's not just how you think of yourself. You see, when you were born, there was no you yet. Newborn babies and babies they don't know themselves as a someone yet.
Yes.
They are intricately weaved in with mother.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's only around 3 or 4 in the stages of human development that the identity comes online. And you have a self-image in your mind that is created, and then you start to see yourself as Eliza, or I start to see myself as Nikki. But by the time that happens, you have already absorbed
Everything.
experientially everything.
Yes.
What the guilt that your mother was feeling,
Yes.
the rejection,
Yes.
that of her of wanting to give you away, her pain, whatever shame she was carrying. But at the same time, the story that your mind would have made it mean, I'm not wanted.
Yeah.
Nobody wants me.
Yes.
What's wrong with me? And you can't stop it. It's mechanical.
Yes.
The mind is driven by survival, and so and children don't know anything else other than the world revolves around them.
Yes.
So if she gave you up for adoption, your mind would have made up some meaning.
Yes.
I'm not wanted. Nobody loves me.
Yes.
And the experiences that you went through, being rejected, being lonely, separated, isolated, longing, that would have all been stored in the memory banks of your nervous system.
Yes.
Wired with, I'm not wanted.
Yes.
And then that becomes the filter that your whole life
Yes.
starts unfolding through. Now,
Yep.
I don't know you well enough yet, but has that been
Oh,
what's
yeah.
shown up in your life?
Girl, listen.
Over and over again.
There's so much toxicity, so much toxicity. And I talked about this in my talk, it's really, I mean, our subconscious gets programmed, so that becomes our identity. And then we have the default mode network, which plays our subconscious. And that is rooted in childhood trauma and fear, and is to protection and prediction and conservation of energy, not to make you happy, but to
Survive.
literally survive.
Yes.
Keep you safe, right?
Yes.
So you'll always auto-sync back to old programming that's rooted in toxicity.
Yes.
Until you become aware and start doing the reprogramming work. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the even deeper level of that, and this is a challenging one, is that we as human beings are very, very attached to that identity, even if we want to get rid of it.
Yes.
Even if we want to reprogram it, it's all we've ever known.
Right. And it's what's safe.
It's what's literally helped you to survive.
Yes.
So the human dilemma is the very thing that we're complaining and suffering from, that we want to be free of, is also what we're addicted to and attached to. And that's what creates that constant kind of suffering of the human condition.
Yes.
I've literally heard people say when they've come out of my programs, I didn't even realize that I've been in a cage and the door's been open the whole time, but I kept choosing to be in the cage.
Deep. Whew, so serious. Yes.
Because it's all you've ever known.
Right. The blind spots.
And stepping out of it is literally like standing on the edge of a cliff and going, okay, jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will feel like you're going to die.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a real human dilemma that the very edge that we need to go to for freedom will feel like death to the mind.
Yes. It's ego death.
Yeah, and then you have to experience everything you've been running from: not being wanted, being alone,
Yes.
being rejected.
Yes.
All of that, it will be part of what needs to be experienced in order to come out the other side, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's deep. It's deep. So did you notice, okay, you said you went through these phases. So
Yes.
11 through 20, 20 to 30 of healing.
Yeah.
After you started diving into your work, did you
Yes.
see your external reality start to shift?
Yes, significantly, but slowly. So my work is called maturation. So the reason why I use that work is because it's a constant state of maturing in your consciousness, meaning how you perceive yourself, how you perceive your life matures consistently. And as it matures, your reality matures, because there's no separation between the external world and the perception of the observer. So by the time I hit 30, it was kind of the beginning of that maturation process for me. And my reality started shifting quite significantly, meaning a lot of the drama started to fall away. A lot of the toxicity started to fall away. I launched my business. I was able to start getting enough power to make choices over my behavior that I couldn't do before. Like when I went back to school and I trained in Chinese medicine and I watched myself sabotaging my finals and my exams, but I was able to somehow have enough consciousness and power to stop myself from fucking it up, which is what I'd always done. So it was kind of a slow and deep process of resculpting my reality and how I showed up in it, becoming more mature in who I was being. And as I keep going, life just gets more peaceful, easeful. Drama just isn't part of my life. And then flow becomes more the normal. Because really that's our natural state. When we're not run by the survival mind, the alternative is flow. It means that we can't control. We have to surrender. But flow and peace and freedom is the gift. So yeah, I mean, it's been quite an extraordinary watching of myself and my world mature.
Yeah. And you know what? I ask you that because I can relate so much because, you know, my external reality, whoo, girl, I mean, it was wild, okay? I mean, it was just not it for a long time. And it's just like the minute that we start changing within and start really doing the work of healing what the blind spots are trying to cover up, like, the unconscious fear, it's like everything externally just starts to become synchronized and aligned.
Yes, and I think it's both one of the most liberating pieces of information for people to find out that that external reality is not fixed and separate from you. In fact, you know, it is actually just proven today in quantum mechanics and quantum science that there is no world already out there. The only world there is the one that you generate from where you're perceiving. That's very liberating, but it's also very confronting because then it means that we have to be responsible for the world that we're complaining about.
Thank you. Yes, girl, say it again.
So if your world is showing you a lot of chaos and drama and toxicity and you're not making any money and nobody chooses you and all your boyfriends leave you, and then it's showing you, it's like a mirror. And so it's both beautiful and confronting that it's for us to be responsible for. And what I mean by responsibility is ownership. And so, you know, part of my work is empowering people to start becoming 100% responsible for the reality that they're generating. Which is both beautiful and hard at the same time. But it takes us out of being a victim and into being powerful.
Exactly.
And we are all that powerful.
Absolutely. You know what, it's the victim mentality for me. You know, it keeps people stuck, and it's very, you know, it's very like comfy to be there because it's like, oh, well, it's, you know, it takes the responsibility off of you. Now it's everybody else's fault, or it's that thing's fault. But it steals your power and keeps you stuck.
It steals our power, and it also gives us, when I ask people, what is it that's getting in the way of you being responsible for your life? Most people will say, it gives me a way to have to be able to kind of hide or stay small, or it's more confronting to be powerful than it is to stay small. Now, I do want to say that there are many, many people on this planet that don't get this choice because they are actually being victimized because of the system, because of the matrix. And so, and because they are actually in survival, and I mean, you know, victims of genocide and victims of war and poor economic societies and communities, the indigenous tribes, because they are actually in survival, the mind, they can't have enough stability or freedom to be able to have the power and the choice to shift it. So I think it's important to say that, because then if you are someone that has privilege, meaning you're not in some war zone and you're not a victim of genocide, you actually have a privileged life, then it is our responsibility to start taking responsibility for our life so that we can help the ones who don't have that choice right now. So it's important to make that distinction, because I often work with people who do work with people in war zones and in genocide, and they'll go, well, what about them? And they really are actually in survival. But if you have food on the table, and you are able to work,
Yeah.
and you have some kind of health, then you are okay. You may not feel okay,
Yes.
but you are relatively okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, you have the power to change your reality and not just become effective for your life, but then become effective for the collective.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. I'm glad that you brought that up because that's something I don't think about often, to be honest, is people that are really victimized and what are you going to do? You know, you can't, like, what do you do if you're enslaved and everywhere around you people are getting killed, you know?
Yes, and you are actually, your system cannot not be in survival.
Right.
You actually are in survival.
Yes.
You are at threat of life.
Right.
And so, like I'll say to people who are in violent relationships, your system will not allow you to come out of survival if you actually have a threat to your life. So you have to
Yes.
remove yourself from that first. Like for me, I had to remove myself from the act of addiction first.
Yes.
And just do that kind of everyday mundane healing at the beginning before I had enough power to then access the root.
Yes. Yes.
And I think, you know, we are in a place in the collective right now. I don't want to sound too worthy, but I mean, the planet's not doing well, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to start looking at things in a bigger way. It's not just about, are you going to make enough money and can you find the love of your life?
Yeah.
But by you being in your power, you can be effective
Yes.
to this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're always adding to the collective. I tell people, don't focus on what you can't control. No amount of stress is ever going to fix anything.
Yes.
It's about really embodying, you know, presence and that feeling of goodness because that adds to the collective.
Yes. I mean, I spent a weekend with an amazing quantum physicist. He's probably one of the most brilliant scientists out there today. His name is Nassim Harriman.
Yes.
And my partner, Nick, was photographing him and doing his brand campaign. So we were able to spend a weekend with him. And it was so inspiring because he literally proved everything that we've been saying on a scientific level. Like he literally like drew out the formula that when we come out of our survival mechanisms and start living more in alignment,
Yes.
our frequency becomes so much higher that it doesn't just shift our reality, it starts shifting the collective field.
Yes.
So this isn't woo-woo love and light stuff. This is science.
Yes. Yes.
And so we need to get more and more people
Yes.
doing this and hitting critical mass so that we actually can shift the paradigm
Absolutely.
of our planet today.
Yes, yes, because you're right. I mean, we're not in a good place. Anytime that there's still, girl, there is war.
All over the world.
It's like,
Multiple wars.
what?
Yes. And we know that war doesn't work, but we still do it.
Because it's not about war. It's about power and money.
Well, actually, if I were to go deeper, they're really just toddlers in grown-up bodies with big, dangerous toys.
Yes.
So,
yes,
you know,
yes.
when you look at the leaders today, they are, I mean, I'll give an example. It's a triggering one, but it's a useful one. Vladimir Putin was born to parents that were deeply traumatized by the war before he was born. And so they were so traumatized that they could not take care of him. And he was brought up extremely poor and extremely neglected. He would literally have to go out into the streets to try to find enough food to get through the day. He was also a very small boy. So he was repeatedly beaten up by the bigger boys at school almost daily, and then his mother wasn't able to protect him because she was so consumed by her own trauma.
Yes.
Now, do you think it's a coincidence that he has now made sure that no one in the world will bully him again? He's still that little boy
Yes.
looking through his
The
eyes,
lens of that.
just in a grown man's body with bigger toys.
Yes.
So that's what's creating our war.
Yes. Yes.
It's like toddlers.
Yeah, I agree.
With big scary toys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what I mean by maturation. We have to outgrow the child.
Yes.
That even though I often say we don't get older, we just get taller.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Seriously.
So we have to mature from being the child, from relating to ourselves as the child, so that we can be more responsible with the power that we have.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is why I teach so much shadow work and really trying to get that stuff out of your system. Everything gets stuck, right? If you're not processing and really working on that stuff, it's there, right? So you got like a pot of emotion here, a pot of trauma.
Yes.
And that's what, like, every time you get triggered, boom, it opens up that gate. And it's like, hello, you know, that feeling takes over the body and the mind. So now there's no space for consciousness.
Yes, the mind is a pattern recognition device. It's literally a machine.
Yes.
And so what I mean by that is that it will be tracking very effectively anything in the field that looks remotely similar to anything in the memory bank. So, and what I mean by is, like, if the bus driver rolls his eyes at you or doesn't stop the bus, and your mother rolled her eyes, that will, poof, you'll be right back in your past and you won't know it. It will appear like the present. If your partner crosses his legs like your stepfather, if your boss has a tone of voice like your mother, like, it is instant and it happens all the time.
Yes, it does.
And so we're bringing the past with us every step we take into the present, and we don't know it. It's a blind spot.
Yes. Oh, so good. It's true. So what would you suggest to people? Because, you know, a lot of people don't even know where to start. You know, they might be afraid to find a mentor. I'm always telling people, find a coach, find a mentor, find somebody that's walking the path because they've done it. They are there where you want to be. You know?
I think finding a coach or a mentor or a very, very good quality therapist that works with both the body and the mind. But not just because they're walking the path and have gone before you, even though that's important, but because in order to reveal blind spots, we need an intimate mirror. Because we can't see them ourselves. We can't turn around fast enough to look who's looking through our own eyes. The same one that's suffering is the one that's looking for the problem. So you need a mirror. And I think the first place to start is look at what's looping and repeating in your 3D reality. Because those are the doorways in. I often, in the masterclasses that I lead, most people think that what keeps repeating is happening out there. Meaning, every time I make money, I lose it and then I have no money. Or every time I get into a relationship, he leaves me for someone else. Or every time I go for my dreams, I don't know, someone gets angry with me and I lose my confidence. And they think that the pattern is happening outside. But actually, it's not happening outside. It's happening inside.
Sure is, yes.
And you're bringing it with you everywhere you go. Choosing your partners, choosing how you behave, choosing your how you show up, and of course the frequency that you're bringing with you. So in order to see what is automatic looping inside, you have to look at what's looping outside as the mirror. And so where is that looping? And I can tell you, you'll see it. It will be consistent through your whole life. When I work with people, I'll show them that whatever they're suffering from at 40 was still there at 20, was still there at 10, was still there at 4. And then they're like, oh my God, I've never not known myself trying to solve this problem of my worthlessness. And so it's run your whole life. So the way in is looking at your world and what it's mirroring back to you.
So how do you suggest people, once they see it, how do they start shifting that?
Well, it's very hard to do on your own. We have a 4-day program called the Listening to Life program. And what we mean by that is you can't actually hear life if you're mechanically run by your mind. So we have to shift enough for you to be so free of the identity enough that you can actually start hearing something bigger than just your survival mind. So we take people through a 4-day intensive process, which breaks them out of the root. And it is pretty intensive. It's like 10 10-hour days. It takes me 4 full days to get people to the point that they can see what has run their entire reality, and then start to experience this real state of freedom beyond that. And then from there, they can start kind of building and shifting. And usually they'll see the reality, the organization of their reality shift pretty fast. For people who want to kind of start on their own, there are particular kind of self-inquiry questions that I think are useful. The first question is, well, the first exercise I would give someone is take a piece of A4 paper and write down on the A4 paper everything that you've ever suffered from with the biggest problem in your life. And then write down all the ways that you've tried to change it. And usually by these kind of 2 sides of A4 paper, you'll see that the problem in your life has been looping your whole life, and everything you've tried to do strategically and with methods and outside of yourself hasn't really worked. It's given you temporary phases of reprieve,
Yes.
but it hasn't freed you from it. Usually that's the first step, and it's a helpful one, not a comfortable one, to start getting more conscious over what's actually been looping. The second question is how familiar of what is looping is this to your past? And usually people will see that it's identical.
Ooh, chills. Yes.
Yeah. And then that's the beginning of a new state of consciousness. Wow. Becoming conscious of how the past is present here right now.
Right. Yeah.
You see, we think that the past is back there, like 30 years ago, but it's not. It's right here.
Yes.
In the memory bank. And so when you start to become conscious of that, then when your partner rolls his eyes and you once again feel like he doesn't love you and you're being dismissed, you can start to have a choice of the flooding that moves through your body that is so identical to when your mother dismissed you. Are you ready to be responsible for it? I'm with you, my partner, but right now I'm 4 and I'm experiencing my past right now. Yeah. And when you can be with the past right here in the present, it frees you.
Whew, yes.
And that's the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that advice. The book, I'm sure, have you heard of it? 7 Habits of Highly Successful People?
Yes.
Stephen Covey. Yes. He talks about stimulus response and the creating space for that conscious, intentional thought in between stimulus and response.
Yes.
And that's when you can start shifting. Like you said, it's noticing that you're living in your past in the present and taking that moment to decide how you want to react.
Yes, and usually the decision won't feel good.
Girl.
And that's important for people to know.
Yeah.
Because usually people will go, but I'm so afraid and it doesn't feel bad, so my intuition is telling me I shouldn't do it. No, that's not your intuition. That's your survival mechanism.
Yes, yes.
When you start moving out of your survival mechanism, it doesn't feel good. The drama is what feels good.
Yes.
The pain is what feels good.
Yes.
Coming out of it feels like death.
Yes.
So, but when you can be conscious of that, like, I don't know, I'm gonna show up and let me give an example. I spoke at the Gladiator Summit. We did.
Yes.
2 days ago. 15 years ago, when I stood on a stage, I would literally get so gripped by panic that my tongue would roll up and my hands would seize up because my mother was so vicious with her temper that even standing on a stage and I could feel people looking at me, I would instantly go into the same panic as the little girl with her mother.
Yes.
And so, but now, 2 days ago, I stood on the stage and I was pretty calm.
Yes.
What people don't realize is as I was standing on that stage, I still got waves of the same panic.
Yeah.
And my mind every now and then would have the similar narrative that was of the child. But because I have been able to be with it experientially enough in the present, I have more power over it than it has over me. And so at the beginning, it feels like it's counterintuitive. Why would I move towards the very thing that feels painful? Mm-hmm. Why would I put myself on a stage when it feels like I'm going to die? Mm-hmm. Because you have to move to the edges of the survival story to then experience everything that you've been resisting in order to blow it up.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you start getting much more power.
Yes, 1,000%. I always tell people, jump over the fear fence.
Yes.
Because the grass is greener on the other side, I promise.
It is, but it will feel worse before it gets better.
Yes. Yes.
And I want to say that because most people will give up because it feels bad, and not realizing that's actually part of the process.
Right.
That's a good sign. That like I just had someone come out of our 4-day program, and she'd been so addicted to kind of alchemizing her pain with all these strategies, but not becoming free of it. And so I actually banned her from trying to regulate her nervous system over and over and over again. I said, you have to stop doing this and actually experience the deregulation.
Yes.
When she experienced the deregulation, at first, it literally felt like the biggest collapse of her life. Everything she'd been running from.
Yeah.
But then 4 days later, she literally woke up and it was like a new world.
Yeah.
And she started having choices about how she could show up in her life that she's never seen before.
Yes.
And she didn't have to keep regulating herself.
Yeah.
She was becoming more free.
Yes.
And I think that's a really important thing for people to hear. We have to move through the very thing we're running from to be able to have more power and more choices of how to be.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do agree because, I mean, I went through something so crazy last year, dark night of the soul, lost everything. I mean, went from thinking things were a certain way one day and then boom, the next day, everything is different, everything. And so to experience and surrender to that pain and heartbreak and just dismantling of my identity and everything I thought I was it was the hardest thing I've ever done,
Yes.
you know, and I went through some hard stuff, but I was using alcohol or drugs or people or, you know, things to distract me from going through that deep pain, right?
Yes.
So I sat with it last year and I was just present with it and I allowed my body to just go there. I was crashing out and I was like, you know, just,
Yes.
but allowing myself to surrender into it. And it's just, you know, I just want people to know if you have the opportunity to completely break,
Do
it's
it.
like, do it.
Do it.
Take
Because it will... Breakthroughs can't happen without breakdowns.
Exactly.
Transformation can't happen without destruction.
Yes.
It's just the flow of the universe. You literally cannot create something new
Yeah.
until the old breaks down.
Yeah.
And so if you're avoiding the breakdown, you are actually blocking the breakthrough.
Yes. Yes.
And so we have to shift our relationship with healing, that actually we need to move towards the very thing we're running from, not run away from it.
Yes. Yeah. Say
Yeah.
it again, girl. I'm telling people, I'm like, break. It's the most beautiful experience of your entire life. And then on the other side of it, it's like, you know, if you continue to follow, you know, what you deeply know, like your intuition, right? Because I was so confused after everything was gone. I'm like, well, who am I? What am I? Like, what do I do? What's good? What's bad? But we innately have this intuition within us to know whether I go this way or I go that way. Do I do this or do I do that? You know? And then when you can follow that intuition of the highest self, it's so hard in the moment.
Yes.
But it's like my future self, like the ripples of reality that I created for myself back then when I was choosing my higher self, even though it was the hardest choice, has created this beautiful, magical alignment, coherence, and just magical life I'm living daily now.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's beautiful. And it was made up of many, many, many challenging, courageous choices.
Yes.
And I know I'm kind of flogging a dead horse here by repeating myself, but I think we just need to be educating people much more that you are more powerful than you can imagine.
Yes.
And you can take on a lot more. You are more resilient than you think you are.
Yes. Yes, you are.
And so, you know, the more that you're willing to take on your life, the more you become the one that gets to create it. And I just think it's so necessary with where we are right now. You know, we are in a phase of destruction collectively. But at the same time, it needs to happen. So much darkness is being exposed. But it has to be exposed.
Yes.
If you look at your relationship with the world 10 years ago to where it is now, how much have you discovered and learned that you didn't even know was there?
Yeah.
It's all being exposed. The blind spots are being exposed.
Yes.
And we can't outgrow anything that we can't see.
Right.
So it all has to be exposed and brought out. So that's the first phase. And then we just have to keep moving through it until we can break through.
Yes, absolutely. And I really feel like it's a beautiful opportunity for people to really see deeper into what's really happening and really take accountability about how they've added to the negativity of the energy on the planet.
Yes. I mean, that's a really hard one. You know, people don't like it when I say this, but, you know, when you look at the violence and the hate in the world, it's so easy to judge it and complain about it. But then if you get really, really, really honest with yourself, how often have you felt that way towards your partner or towards your mother or towards yourself? It's a mirror. It's a painful, confronting mirror. But when we're willing to take on the whole of what it means to be human, which is the shitty sides and the beautiful sides, then we can be responsible for the way that the world is unfolding right now, because we're participating in it. We're generating it.
Yes. And then we can change it once we take accountability.
Exactly. We can. And it's not easy, but it's empowering.
Yes, yes. And it's necessary.
Yes.
It's really necessary. I really feel like there's a shift of energy that light is kind of breaking away from the dark and more people are starting to see, but then there's this cloud of dark as well. So I really feel, I mean, last year especially, I felt like there was like spiritual warfare on the planet. Something is just, you know, parting people, like spreading people farther and farther apart, you know? And what are your thoughts on that?
I think that there is a split happening. Quite literally, the electromagnetic field of the planet has risen so high and so fast, so quickly, the Schumann resonance of the planet, that it has been actually creating a lot of destabilization in the body-mind mechanism. So over the last kind of year, particularly last year, every time the electromagnetic field of the planet shifted and rose, people would go through physical symptoms, health issues, suddenly huge emotional memories coming up, big purging. And the ones who were able to have some kind of context to hold it were able to turn it into healing. The ones who didn't were going deeper into their addictions and deeper into fighting with their partners and deeper into creating war. And so there is a split that's happening. There's a kind of a split in paradigms. There's the ones who are taking on the assignment as part of our evolution. And through the hardships, they're growing and expanding faster than ever before. And then there's the ones that are not taking on that assignment, consciously or unconsciously, and then getting more absorbed into the old survival patterns. So there is a split happening. I don't think it's imaginary. And we kind of have to decide which side of the camp are we going to be on.
Yeah. You know what? I do agree, for sure. I wonder what's going to happen, you know, with that. Like, what is going to happen to, you know, what's going to happen?
I mean, obviously, I don't know. I would like to say that I have hope for humanity. But it's only going to, we're only going to come out of this in a more expansive, evolved, mature way when we realize that what we're suffering from, we're equally responsible for. If we can, and enough of us can, I trust life. I think life has an extraordinary way of creating more life.
Yes.
If you look at how many times on the planet the human race has been kind of extinct, or civilization has been extinct, nature and life has this extraordinary way of rebirthing and rebirthing and rebirthing. And so I trust life, and, you know, the time is now. It's not like in 10 years I'll do it. No, it has to happen now.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's the energy. I feel like there's this pulse of like extra power. Like you said, the people that kind of held those emotions and held that stuff, that space, are just opening up to more and more and more.
Yes, and we need to be responsible for the next generations. You know, I'm a mother, you're a mother.
Yes.
And mothers struggle when I say this. It's inevitable that your child is going to inherit whatever you don't clear. And so I'll say to my daughter, honey, I'm going to do the best that I can, but I'm definitely going to pass on some crap to you. So I'm going to get you ready to do your work. Yes. So it's like, we have to do it for ourselves.
Yes.
And also be conscious that there's a whole other generation coming out.
Yes.
And it's going to affect them too.
Yeah.
So whatever we're doing now is setting the stage for them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely is. And our babies are our future.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
They
they're
are.
the ones that are going to be healing this planet.
They are coming in. I am noticing that they are coming in with a higher intelligence.
They are.
It's extraordinary.
It's like their connection is there.
There is a deep wisdom there. Yes. So I, again, trust life. That something is coming. So whatever we're doing is really shaping the way for them to step into leadership.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, before we end, I have to bring up something that you brought up the other day when we were eating, and it's a psychedelic that you experienced.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to tell us all about it because, you know, I'm a huge, you know, I support psychedelics. I think that they're incredibly healing if you use them in the correct way.
Yes.
With respect, you know, as like a medicine, not like, oh, let me go to this party and like get all messed up.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I had one of the most deepest healings with medicine. So I want you to talk about your experience. And
Yes. So I've worked with a lot of medicine, and I, like you, I think that they are extremely powerful tools when used from the right context and intention. And the awakening that the medicine will give you is not the work.
right, the work is the integration.
The work is an integration.
Yes.
And most of the time, people just stay with the enlightening high experience as what was the work.
Yeah.
No, the work is when whatever you learn,
Yes.
are you going to come home and then implement it?
Yes. Girl, yes.
So I worked with a medicine called Noyo Rao, which is a very, very rare medicine. There's only about 2 trees left in the Amazon. And if you've ever seen the movie Avatar,
Yes.
I would love to ask James Cameron if he actually based this tree on the medicine.
Yeah.
But the tree in Avatar that glows translucent light, Iwa, that is like Noyo Rao. It literally glows translucent light at nighttime. So the frequency is the purest light frequency that there is. And when you drink the sap, it's basically ayahuasca's grandmother, ayahuasca's teacher.
Yeah.
So if you've ever worked with ayahuasca, it's like an ayahuasca ceremony times 1,000,000 on steroids.
Girl.
So it's like the deepest surrender that I've ever had. But the work is to fill your system with more and more of this high frequency light. Now, in order to do that, it exposes everything in your cellular structure that is of a lower frequency. And that's the work.
Yeah.
To face and purge everything you've ever inherited, everything you've ever experienced, everything you've ever behaved, all the arrogance, all the greed, all the judgment, all the hate that you have put out in the world and put towards yourself, you will have to face, experience, and then purge.
Wow. So you feel everything. So is it like a vision? Like you see yourself in all these
It's
things?
different each time. Usually there is no more identity or language, but I am able to communicate with the medicine. Like this one ceremony, I set the intention to heal the relationship with my body. And as the medicine started kicking in, I started feeling extremely sick, like awful nausea. And what I realized I was being shown was all the men that I had had sex with in my life unconsciously, I had taken in their energy. And I had made myself sick.
Oh, wow.
And she was making me feel the sickness of all the energy I had allowed into my system unconsciously.
Yeah.
And boy, it was a really tough lesson. Basically, she was teaching me, your body is a temple.
Yeah.
Treat it like it.
Yes.
You do not let energies into your system unconsciously ever again.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a hell of a lesson.
Wow.
Because you just have sex and have fun, and like, wow, she took me right from like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Wow. I was like, oh my gosh. I was so sick. But by the end, wow, the love and the reverence that I felt for my female body was higher than ever before. And ever since then, I can't even put food in my body that isn't of the highest frequency.
Wow.
I don't touch alcohol anymore. Not because I'm being strict. I just don't want it.
Yeah.
And really changed my relationship with sex and the sexual energy. So that was just kind of one.
Yeah.
I've worked with it 10 times now. But it is that powerful. And then, of course, you have to come home and quite literally change who you're being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, chills. I think more people need to talk about sexual energy and how deep that is, because you're not only taking on your partner's energy, but you're taking on your partner's energy and their trauma.
Yes, all of it.
Yes.
For women.
Yes.
Because
it's inside
they
the
literally
temple.
have to come into our body.
Yes.
We are taking in everything they're carrying.
Yes.
And so if you're not going to be conscious about it, you're going to carry it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I talk about this. It's different for a man and a woman. We have the temple. You're literally entering the temple.
Yes.
It is different.
Yes.
We take on everything.
Yes. And then we have these extraordinary systems that quite literally create life.
Yes.
And so not only are we not treating it like we're sacred temples energetically, but we're also blocking the power of creating life.
Yes.
So that was really my lesson in that ceremony.
It's deep though. It's so true. I mean, this is our temple. We are literally the portal into this world.
Yes.
This is God in there.
Yes, and to get to that point, we as women have so much healing. Like, we really have to get honest with ourselves. Have we really been living like we love ourselves? Like, really?
Yes.
You may tell yourself you love yourself, but are you living like you love yourself?
Right.
Because if you are, then you wouldn't hold yourself back. You would do what you were born here to do. You would treat your body like it is a temple.
Yes.
You would say no and have boundaries to the things that are not good for you. If you loved yourself, really, that's how you would behave.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God, so good. Okay. Yes, girl. All these are clips. I'm saying. No, seriously, you're so wise. I love it. I love having conversations like this, and I just love that there are so many more that I'm connecting with that are speaking the same language and helping people to understand that we are the power.
Yes.
And we need to treat ourselves like that.
Yes. And, we have to work together to do it, know, where there are so many points of light in this world today, and it's like a spider web. If we can all kind of work like a network, then we can create a really significant shift.
That's what I feel, exactly.
Yeah.
So Nikki, where can people find you? What are you working on? What do you want to talk about for people to find you?
Well, Instagram is a good place to find me, at Nicky_Clinch. We are just at the moment opening up a free community called the House of Maturation. So anybody who wants to start dedicating themselves and their process to the process of maturation, starting to look at how your 3D reality is mirroring what's looping internally, starting to outgrow your stories and your past, and start maturing your relationship with yourself and your consciousness and your reality. You can come into that community for free, and then if you want to start getting coaching from me, there are different tiers that you can sign up for. But I think it's also really beautiful to be around other people that are in that kind of level of responsibility and commitment.
Yes.
You can also check out our programs. Listening to Life is a 4-day intensive. It will change your life. Often people say there's a before and after. Before listening to Life and then after listening to Life. It's very powerful. We lead it 3 times a year. And I also have a podcast called The Infinite Potential of Being Human. So you can find that on anywhere that has podcasts.
Awesome. And guys, all of those links will be in the description. Make sure you guys follow Nikki. Make sure you guys check her stuff out. I'm serious. I'm literally sitting in person with this powerful being. So you definitely want to tap in. Nikki, thank you so much for sitting with me today. I'm just so excited to see how we can keep on creating this beautiful, new world that we're trying to usher in here. So it's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And guys, this was another episode of Unlimited with Elisabeth Carson and Nicky Clinch. Until next time.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and don't necessarily reflect those of the producers or affiliates. We do not guarantee the accuracy of the content. Please verify information and seek professional advice when needed. By listening, you agree not to hold us liable for any actions taken based on this content. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoy the episodes ahead. Love unlimited, feel unlimited.
Before we wrap, if you're done living in loop mode, the addictions, the emotional swings, the stuck seasons, start with a tool that actually shifts your state. Go to unlimitedmeditationpack.com and download the free pack I created. It's 5 targeted meditations with theta entrainment frequencies that drop you into the zone where real subconscious reprogramming happens. These sessions calm your system, clear the old patterns, and open you up to better health, better connections, more clarity, and a life that finally moves. Start there. unlimitedmeditationpack.com.